Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to do one of these examples here. Go ahead and pause the video and write down the example that I have put up there if you haven't already done so. Okay, so we're going to roll through and graphing these things. We're going to do the whole problem. Okay, so starting out, find the domain. Remember, when I am finding the domain, I'm looking for a concern. So my concern for this one here would be division by 0. I cannot divide by 0. So I need to look at the bottom, x squared minus 2x minus 8, and I need to make sure that that bottom does not equal 0. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and factor this. Factors of 8 that subtract to give me 2. Okay, dot, dot, dot. I end up factoring this thing. It's x minus 4 times an x plus 2 cannot equal 0. Okay, I know I skipped my factoring steps there. I hope everybody's okay. I get that x cannot equal 4 and x cannot equal negative 2. Okay, now I want to make sure that I write this in my interval notation. So we'd go negative infinity to negative 2 in union with, ooh, that looks like a square bracket. It's not supposed to be square, sorry. In union with negative 2 to 4 in union with 4 to infinity. Okay, so that is my domain. Now, if you guys remember when I told you this, your vertical asymptotes, the vertical asymptotes, we set the bottom equal to 0. Well, I already set the bottom not equal to 0. So my vertical asymptotes are just going to be x equals negative 2 and x equals 4. So once I find the domain, I really don't need to show any work on finding the vertical asymptotes because they're essentially the same thing. Okay? Next, find the horizontal or oblique asymptote. So remember, when we do this, okay, we're going to look, what's the degree of the top? What's the degree of the bottom? They have the same degree, so I'm going to look at y equals the leading coefficient of the first is 1. The leading coefficient of the second is 1. So I end up with y equals 1 is my horizontal asymptote. So I found my domain, I found my vertical asymptotes, I found my horizontal asymptote. Now it wants to know, does the function f of x ever intersect the horizontal / oblique asymptote? Okay, so I'm going to take my function, x squared minus 2x minus 15 over x squared minus 2x minus 8, okay? And that is y equals this function here. Remember, I know that y equals 1 is on this graph here. That's your vertical or your horizontal asymptote. So I'm going to take that 1 and I'm going to plug it in here. And now I'm going to solve. If I get x equals some number, then that means it crosses at that point. Okay? So we've got that that is 1. So I'm going to multiply times x squared minus 2x minus 8. So those cancel. X squared minus 2x minus 8. Okay? So when I do that, I end up with that x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals x squared minus 2x minus 15. Got a lot of x squareds and x's, so I'm going to move those over. Get rid of those for me. Add my 2x, add my 2x. Oop, that gets rid of it too. So I end up with negative 8 equals negative 15, which is false. That is not true. Since it is false, it does not cross the horizontal asymptote. It does not cross the horizontal asymptote. It does not cross the horizontal asymptote. So that means when I'm graphing this thing, since it does not cross the horizontal asymptote, I'm going to be dealing with this situation here. I'm going to have a parabola and I'm going to have some little swoopies. Okay? So let's go back down to it. We need to find our x-intercepts. Okay? So to find my x-intercept, I'm going to set my y value equal to 0. Of course, I forget to switch that back. So I get 0, and then that equals an x squared minus 2x minus 15 over an x squared minus 2x minus 8. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that by multiplying. And then that times 0 Oh, wait, I guess times 0, I always forget, that just cancels it. So really, I just need to set the top equal to 0. And then I'm good if I set that top equal to 0. Okay, I'm going to go about my factoring steps. Okay, I end up with 0 equals x minus 5 times x plus 3, which gives me that x equals 5 and x equals negative 3. And that means that 5, 0 and negative 3, 0 are my x-intercepts. Okay? Find any y-intercepts. So I need to set my y's equal to 0. Sorry, I need to set my x's equal to 0. Y equals 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 15 over 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 8. So all of those x's have zeros in that spot. I end up with y equals negative 15 over negative 8, which is just y equals 15 eighths. Okay, so I need to write that as a point. 0, 15 eighths. Some of y'all like whole or the mixed numbers, which would be 0 and 1 and 7 eighths. Y'all know I don't like that, but it is easier to graph those. Okay, so now I'm ready to graph this thing. First thing I need to do is I need to graph my asymptotes. I got y equals 1, I got x equals negative 2, and x equals 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rolling there then. Okay, x equals negative 2, graphing that one down. X equals 4, graphing that one down. And then y equals 1. Getting that graphed on there. Okay, now remember, we talked about this is going to look like this example here with our parabola and the two swoops because it did not cross. It does not cross the horizontal asymptote. Okay, so I know that I have an x-intercept 5, 0. So is my swoop going to be up here or is it going to be down low on the bottom? Well, the answer would be that x-intercept tells me that the swoop needs to be down on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go swoop here and then over. And there's my first one. I also have an x-intercept at negative 3. So is my swoop going to be here or is my swoop going to be down here? Well, again, the x-intercept tells you, hey, that swoop is going to have to be down on the bottom. So I'm going to have my swoop here, and I'm going to have my swoop down there. Okay? Now, in the middle, I know I have a parabola. I have my point here, 0, 1, and 7 eighths, which would be right about there. So is my parabola in the top or is it in the bottom? And the answer would be that my parabola would be in the top because that's where my y-intercept is. And there we go. And you guys have graphed your rational function. Okay, I know that this is probably kind of confusing, and it is. The more practice that we do with these, the better, more comfortable you guys will feel. And I have plenty of practice problems for you guys to do.